All right, today I'm talking to Duran Levan. Duran has had several jobs in psychology, first as a clinical psychologist, then he co-founded a social enterprise called Fruit to Work, and now he's director at a consulting organization called the Nous Group. He did his bachelor's science psychology at UNSW, followed by his honors at the University of Melbourne, and then his master clinical psych at La Trobe. Hello, Duran. Thank you for being here. Let's get right to it. Can we go one by one through your jobs and start with clinical psychologist? What was it like working in that role?
Yeah, sure. So I worked as a clinical psychologist in prison system in Victoria, and I've always had an interest in trauma and how that affects mental health more broadly. And that was a really great place to work. I had a really supportive team, and it was quite challenging and interesting environment to be in. But really, there was a lot of room to do good work, and surprisingly, a lot of people in prison were quite receptive to it. So yeah, that was quite a enjoyable and fulfilling role to have. So I decided rather than staying in the prison working with clients in that environment, I prefer to work in sort of the real world setting and try to deal with some of the more systemic issues like employment for people with a criminal record. So I partnered with a friend of mine, Ariel Hirsch, and we set up Fruit to Work, which is a business still running, which hires former offenders to deliver fruit boxes to companies.
That's great. What then took you from all of that kind of work as a psychologist and founding your own social enterprise into consulting? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, so I guess one of the key things which I got initially, as an undergrad at UNSW, but then throughout all my career is I've always enjoyed problem solving and critical thinking and trying to take lots of different information, work out what's going on, and then develop solutions from it, and then trying to implement those solutions, which is usually the hardest part. But I wanted to be able to see if I could work in a place where you could do that at more the whole of system level. So talking about government policy, government setting. And so that's why I made the move to Nous, which is a management consulting firm that works a lot with government on these bigger problems.
I know that a consultancy like Nous must work with a lot of different kinds of clients. What's the kind of work that you end up doing? Who are you working with?
So I really draw on my experience as a psychologist and my training. So I do most of my work in health, mental health, and human services. So the connection to mental health is obvious. My training and experience in mental health and the mental health system is very valuable. But even in human services, I've done a lot of work with homelessness, family violence, and other areas of human services. And having worked with clients who've experienced those things and really understanding the client perspective and their experience going through the system has been really valuable.
So what kind of person do you think would really love doing the work that you've done? What kind of person would love working as a clinical psychologist? What kind of person would love working in a consultancy agency?
Yeah, so management consulting at the moment, definitely good for people who like to do different things often. So typical project runs for 3 to 4 months, and then you're off and away, you're doing something completely different. And there's a bit of a mix of I'll be facilitating workshops, I'll be doing client interviews, or I'll be working on a report at my computer. So somebody who really likes that person-to-person, building that relationship over a long period of time would love being a psychologist. Somebody who likes doing something different every few months and high-paced environment would definitely like the consulting side.
Duran, do you have any advice you could give to a current psychology student, let's say an undergrad, who's looking ahead and trying to decide what sort of master's they may or may not want to do and what sort of career they may or may not want to do?
I guess my advice would be think about what you want to do now and don't worry too much about whether you want to do that forever or not, or what you want to do next, or setting yourself up for the next thing, because opportunities pop up that you never thought of. My advice would also be, if you think you're interested in something, try to find a way to have a taste of it first. Find a way you can work in that for a little bit. And then if you still really enjoy it and you want to do further study to become more expert in it, then great. Yeah, so those would be, I guess, 2 pieces of advice.
Thank you, Duran. I think that's really helpful advice. And thank you for talking with me today. It's been really, really interesting.
No worries, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right, thanks.